429 with Aliyah Sharif.
Hey y'all, welcome to the 429 podcast, where we talk all things faith, family, business, love, and everything in between. I am your host, Aliyah Sharif. Thanks so much for being here with me today. I want to start off by saying thank you to all of my viewers and supporters. Last month, 429 welcomed our first official podcast guest, and she is Mrs. Malia Tipton. If you have not watched the episode yet, I want you to pause this video, exit this video, go to my last episode, which is Malia's episode. Go watch that and then come back here. It was definitely a treat. We got a lot of positive feedback. I am looking forward to having more guests on the show in the future. And again, thank you all for watching. So today we're going to be talking about fasting. And I am going to just offer some tips that were offered to me by a trusted pastor, someone who's my former pastor. And I'm going to pass those tips along to you in hopes that it will help you just like it helped me. My first time really fasting as an adult was over the course of the last year and a half. I fasted before as a child. And I just did it because we did it as a dance group at church, but I didn't really understand it. But now that I'm an adult who has matured in her faith and who knows the word a little bit better, I have a better understanding of what fasting is. So let's start from the beginning. A little while ago, I was in a therapy session and I was sharing with my therapist, some of the things that had been going on with me. And over our past few sessions, she had offered some insight and some advice. But in this particular session, she said, Aliyah, I think this is something that you need to share with a trusted pastor or minister. Because I can give you all the advice in the world, but I don't really have the answers for this. This is something that I think you should share with the pastor. So immediately my former pastor popped into my mind. And so I reached out to him and let him know what had been going on. And I had shared with him, y'all, I don't know, I'm kind of private when it comes to this stuff, but how do I want to say it? If I have any Bible readers, then you know the story of Joseph and you know the dangers of telling people your exact dreams. So without giving too much away, I'll just say that there was a period that I was having these dreams. And in these dreams, there would be people that I knew who had passed away. And it was somebody different in each dream. But each time they had a message for me. And so I would, I ain't gonna cry. So yeah, I would as soon as I wake up, I would make a note of the dreams and what they were saying. I'm not gonna share that with y'all because I think that's a little bit too personal, but just to give you a little gist of what was going on, this is what was happening. I went through this for a year and a half. And I was sharing it with my therapist each time I would have a dream. I would share with her in detail. And she finally got to the point where she's like, Aliyah, I think you need to talk to a trusted pastor about this. And so immediately as she said that, my former pastor, he popped up in my mind. And so I went to him. I got in touch with him. And he said, I would suggest you go through a fasting and a praying period. So I said all of that to say, this is where these tips are coming from. What he shared with me, some of the scriptures that he shared with me, that's what I'm sharing with you today. I'm not a preacher or a teacher. Yes, take this into account, watch this video, but also reach out to a trusted pastor or minister and get their feedback on it as well. Let's dive in. So the whole purpose of fasting is to gain clarity. And based on the example that I just shared with you all earlier, I needed clarity. As my former pastor mentioned to me, there's something that God is trying to get. There was something that he was trying to get across to me, and I needed that answer. So I went into my fasting period. The first thing you want to do is set a specific time. That can be 3 days, it can be 5 days, It could be 7 to 10 days, whatever you choose. For me, when I was going through my fasting period back then, I did a weekend fast. It was 3 days, nothing but liquids. I don't know that I would ever do a completely no food fast again. I was struggling, but it was very necessary. I was very desperate for God. I was very desperate to hear from him. So that's just what it was. It was 3 days, just no food, just all liquids, pretty much water. So there are other times that I fasted and I'll eat like between a certain time. So maybe between 10 a.m. and 6 p.m. or 12 noon and 6 p.m. That's my time to eat. But that doesn't have to be your schedule. For me, like I said, I was desperate. So I didn't eat for 3 days and I was praying. I had my worship music going and I had set times each day where I would pray. I would pray a specific prayer and I was asking God in my situation, I had experienced, Lord, I experienced these dreams. He already knows the details, but I shared the details with him and just asking him, can you provide me clarity? So I prayed. I read scriptures, specific scriptures, which I'll share with y'all in a minute. They're not the only scriptures that you can use during a fast, but they helped me and they may help get you started as well. And then I would close out with a prayer. So I did this 3 times a day. I think it was 8 a.m., 12 noon, and 6 p.m. But it depends on you as a person. Again, those times may not work for you. Just choose 3 different times a day, as long as it's morning, noon, and evening time. Another thing is maybe like just a fruit only fast. It's different routes that you can take. And I know some people are like diabetic. They need to have food to eat. So you can try to plan the fast around that. So those are some things to keep in mind. And when you're fasting, a lot of times when we think about fasting, we think about social media, which is good. And while I think we should incorporate social media fast as well, because for me personally, it clouds my mind too much sometimes. So I do need a break. But as my former pastor shared with me, when we're talking biblically, they didn't have social media back then, right? So anytime fasting is referred to in the Bible, it's referring to food, fasting from food. When fasting, you should be giving up something that you really crave, like you really be feeling like you can't go without. So for example, I love sweets. I love chocolate. Bread is another weakness. I love bread. So whatever that looks like for you, it's a sacrifice. Fasting is a sacrifice. So make sure that you're giving up something that you really like and that you crave. If you don't drink pop and you say, "Oh, I'm going to fast from pop," like that's not a sacrifice. Another thing to keep in mind when fasting is to be serious and be intentional about asking God for clarity. So again, that's why we have like the 3 times a day. And in those times, just really seeking his face and asking God, okay, Lord, I need answers. I need to hear from you. Yeah. Another thing to keep in mind when fasting, it should not be an announcement. If you're about to do a weekend fast or a 7 to 10 day fast, you shouldn't go on Facebook and announce it. Hey, y'all, I'm finna do this fast. Or even if you're on the phone with your homegirl, close as y'all are. Hey, girl, I'm about to do this fast. It's not really something that's for public consumption. It's very personal. It's very intimate, and it's between you and God. Now, sometimes you may slip up. I know for me, I slipped up on the phone with my mom one time. I was in the middle of a fast, and I was like, "Yeah, mama, I ain't ate since dinner," because and I was like, "Oh Lord." So you may have slip ups, but to the best of your ability, do not make it public knowledge. This is for you, between you and God, to gain clarity. And that's why I was kind of ick about sharing the reason for my fast, but it is in the past now. I did get the clarity that I needed. Another thing to keep in mind when fasting is to be serious and to be intentional about what you're asking God for. And also look deep within yourself and ask yourself, is there anything that you know in your heart that God really wants you to do? Something that you already know. Because 9 times out of 10, you already know what you're supposed to do. But sometimes we don't. It causes you to be naked and to just be open. One thing that Pastor Jerry Flowers of Redefined TV, he's on YouTube. I love his sermons and his insight. One thing he says about fasting is that it is a sacrifice, but it's also letting your flesh know that you have authority over it. It does not have authority over you. Yes, we're battling our flesh every day. Every day is a fight, but we are sacrificing just like God sacrificed his son for us, just like Jesus made that sacrifice on the cross for us. So that is another way to look at fasting. So again, there are some scriptures that I want to share with you. Hold on one second. Okay, y'all, I found them. I had to pull them up. So here are some scriptures to get you started. I'm not going to read them. That's for you to do, but I will give them to you. They are Proverbs chapter 3, verse 5 and 6, Psalm 48, verse 14, and Isaiah chapter 41, verse 10. So again, these are scriptures that you can read before each of your prayer times. Other scriptures, Psalm 32, verse 8, Psalm 119, verse 105, James chapter 1, verse 5, Jeremiah chapter 33, verse 3, Proverbs chapter 2, verse 6, and finally, 2 Timothy chapter 1, verse 7. That's all I have. Like I said, I'm not a preacher or a teacher, but if you're considering fasting, hopefully these tips help you. But I also, again, would suggest that you reach out to a trusted pastor or minister and talk with them about your hopes to fast and see if they can share some scriptures and specific prayers and additional information with you as well. Also, I know my pastor, Pastor Stephen L. Murphy, Sr. of the Metropolitan Baptist Tabernacle in Flint, Michigan, may have some feedback on this. Sorry to call you out, Pastor, but you already know what's up. So, and I'm sure other pastors may watch as well, but if you have any feedback or questions, feel free to drop them in the comments below. I hope to get a conversation going. I think, at least me personally, but I feel like we're all in a time where we have to go beyond just the regular worship service on Sunday. There is a spiritual war going on, and we need to be equipped. So yeah, that's all I have for you all today. Wait, before I go, I have to let y'all get one more look at the sweatshirt. Shout out to Kirsten Stokes of DivineCosmetics.us. I love my sweatshirt. If you're looking to support a Black business this month or support them all throughout the year, I will link her information in the description box below because, yeah, this is like my new favorite sweatshirt. So if y'all see it again, don't be surprised, okay? I hope this was helpful, and I look forward to seeing you all really, really soon. Until then, take care of yourselves and take care of each other. Bye.